Good evening, everybody. Very glad to see familiar faces, old friends, colleagues, and new faces coming here tonight to make this annual event as special as always. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Field, the Executive Secretary here at the PSC. I want to let you know we're recording tonight's event, so if you've got family, loved ones, friends who couldn't make it tonight and want to see the remarks, they'll be posted on our YouTube channel after we wrap up tonight. Friends, last year I spoke about the long history of cooperation between Canada and the United States on salmon issues. For more than half of their 159-year history as sovereign nations, they have had a salmon treaty in place between the 1937 IPSFC, Fraser, Sockeye, and Pink Treaty, and now the 1985 Pacific Salmon Treaty that created us, the PSC. Last year, I also talked about some tension between the two countries and contrasted that with camaraderie and the understanding that we see here inside our PSC community. This year, it's no secret that differences persist between capitals. Anyone who reads the news or watches TV knows that is factually true. But perhaps more so than ever, I'd say that so does the sense of understanding, the sense of accomplishment inside the PSC tent. This year, this week, we celebrate 4 decades of those shared accomplishments, those shared triumphs, that dialogue across the 49th parallel and north. We'll learn more about the key players, the key moments in that arc of history tomorrow night from the tribes and First Nations, and more on Wednesday night during the Wednesday night 40th anniversary celebration. I know we all look forward to that reflection and honoring the roots, the sources that gave rise to us. But tonight, we're here to focus on 2 people in that history. The awardee of the Larry Rutter Memorial Conservation Award, and Larry himself, the inspiration for this event every year. For those of you that didn't know him, Larry passed away in 2014, far earlier than anyone expected, but leaving a legacy that really everyone struggles to measure. I know that if he were here tonight, he'd be beaming about where the commission stands in its 40-year history. 30 years beyond its darkest days of repudiation and dispute of the other country's position, 3 successful 10-year renegotiations of the regulatory frameworks, and the recovery of several stocks and habitats that have been aided by $145 million of endowment funding over a quarter century to 2,000 projects. I think Larry would also be thrilled to see the variety of nominators and nominees in the award that's created in his name. Canadians nominating their US counterparts and vice versa. Policy people nominating scientists and vice versa. He'd be proud to see the trust and the mutual admiration that you all have built inside the community. And when the commission established this award 10 years ago, I was reading my notes tonight. I can't believe it's been 10 years that we've been doing this already. But when we did that a decade ago, it was to honor a person or an organization that has advanced Pacific salmon conservation and management through their unique accomplishments, and to honor Larry himself, his legacy of unifying Canada and the United States inside the PSC. For those of you who knew him, I had the good fortune to know him for a few years as I entered into PSC world. You know that he believed in that unity, believed in what we're doing here, and his long career demonstrated it. He had more than 3 decades of work with the Treaty Indian tribes, the U.S. National Marine Fisheries Service, and here inside the commission itself. And all of that work fostered the collaboration that we so desperately need, I think today more so than ever. I'm happy to report, speaking of Larry, I'm happy to report that his widow, Deb Shaver, has joined us here online tonight. She's watching and listening to the ceremony, as she has every year, either online or here in person, to listen to Larry's legacy and to hear about the person who's getting the award in any given year. Each year, The selection committee is humbled by the work, the knowledge, the dedication that so many people have poured into the PSC. I know it sounds cliche. I think I say it every single year that I stand on this podium, but it's true. It's factually true that it proves incredibly hard to pick one person out of that stack of nominations that we get every year. And in that vein, I want to say on behalf of the selection committee, we welcome resubmissions, refreshing of submissions for the award each and every year. There's a trove of people out there deserving of this sort of conversation, and we look forward to seeing those sorts of resubmissions every winter. Speaking of the selection committee, I'd like to thank Susan Bishop from the United States and Neil Davis from Canada, who served with me on the selection committee and helped choose the 2026 awardee of the Larry Rutter Memorial Award, Dr. Laurie Weitkamp. Laurie knows I've warned her that she's going to have her time up on the dais where she can squirm under our attention and the limelight for a little bit. I want to say a few things about Laurie's biography, and I know Gary Morishima, her longtime friend and colleague from the Coho Tech Committee, also wants to say a few things before we have Laurie come up and wish us a good night and make her remarks. It's going to be hard to go through Laurie's whole career, her whole resume. I couldn't do it standing up here in one night, I don't think. So I'm doing the best I can to summarize the highlights that we picked up from the selection committee and from our knowledge of working with Laurie all these years. She holds 3 degrees from the University of Washington, a Bachelor of Science in Zoology, a Master's in Fisheries, and a PhD in Aquatic and Fishery Science. Laurie's devoted her career to the conservation and recovery of Pacific salmon, and is internationally recognized as a field ecologist whose research has advanced the understanding of salmon biology here and on the other side of the Pacific as well. Notably, Laurie served as a key U.S. scientist aboard the International Year of the Salmon High Seas expeditions in 2019 and 2022, and was instrumental throughout the IYS program delivery. Her work's been instrumental to understanding how environmental change impacts Pacific salmon abundance, marine distribution, migration, predation, diet, growth, fitness, and survival. Dr. Weitkamp served as a research fisheries biologist as well for NOAA Fisheries Conservation Biology Division since 1992. In 94, she led the West Coast Coho Salmon Status Review, which provided the scientific foundation for listings of several coho populations under the Endangered Species Act. She continues to serve on the NOAA Fisheries Technical Recovery Team, developing biological recovery goals and reporting on progress for listed coho salmon populations from the Columbia River southward down to Punta Gorda, California. More recently, she contributed her expertise as a member of the Washington Coast Chinook Salmon Status Review Team, and has been a dedicated member of the PSC's own Coho Technical Committee. In that role since the 1990s, Laurie is widely known for her annual updates on ocean conditions, the latest of which we saw last month, just in Portland, where a room like this was filled, as usual, with folks who wanted to hear what she had to say. Her expertise, her insight, and advice were instrumental to the Coho Tech Committee's periodic report, including descriptions of fisheries and hatchery-wild interactions for U.S. management units. Laurie's contributed to production of the Pacific Salmon Treaty postseason coho exploitation rate assessment report, and has generously volunteered to contribute her expertise to address a number of Coho Tech Committee assignments. Beginning in 2021, she chaired our seminar steering committee. I was happy to serve with Laurie on that group, still am, playing a major role in arranging and recruiting dynamic, knowledgeable presenters from both the US and Canada to present on a huge array of topics. You can see all of those presentations on our YouTube channel as well. And Laurie was foundational in setting that process up inside the PSC. Throughout her career, Dr. Weitkamp's research has substantially contributed to knowledge of juvenile salmon ecology as well, as they transition from freshwater to marine habitats, the so-called critical period of salmon survival. Laurie's helped organize the Salmon Ocean Ecology Meeting for more than a decade. That meeting, which is hosted in different regions in both the US and Canada annually, enables agency staff and academics to synthesize and disseminate the latest information from at-sea surveys. So that is my summary of Laurie's rich career, but it isn't the first time that Laurie has been acknowledged and honored by her peers. Just last year, the Oregon chapter of the American Fisheries Society honored her with its Lifetime Achievement Award for her contributions to understanding survival, salmon survival and recovery. And so in that sense, I'd say Laurie's receipt of the award this year embodies the best of what the PSC can do to develop lasting relationships and survive the test of time and the test of duress. I know Larry'd be proud of that, Laurie. He would join me and the rest of your PSC family in congratulating you on this well-deserved award. Few more minutes to go while we have Dr. Morishima come up and say a few words as well. Gary, please.
Well, those of you from the Pacific Northwest, we've got a lot to celebrate. And I'm not just talking about San Francisco yesterday. We're here to celebrate the remarkable career of Laurie Weitkamp, my longtime friend and colleague on the COVID Tech Committee. Laurie and I are Huskies. She went through the full gamut from the BS, and you know what that means, and MS, you know what that means too, and a PhD, which means a little bit high and deeper, right? But I think that one of the things that I wanted to share with you is the situation that the co-chairs of the technical committees of the Pacific Salmon Commission process frequently find themselves in. We are often encountered with new memberships or changes and transitions and those kinds of things as new members join and old members retire or leave. But that's always a shot in the dark, I guess, because you never know who's going to be at the table with you. You don't know what their skills are, what their knowledge is, what their capabilities are, what their demeanor is. You know, are they going to be a fit? Are they going to be able to contribute their knowledge and expertise in a way that's going to be helpful to not only the commission, but also to the technical committee folks who are there to support the commission? So we often wonder, you know, what are the skills? What are they going to bring to the table? And are they going to do it with humor? Are they going to do it with humility and a sense of purpose and dedication? And really, that's what Laurie brought. There are many times when I felt a little bit like Forrest Gump. You might recall one of his famous scenes in his movie where he was sitting in a bus stop with a box of chocolates on his lap. And he said, my mama used to tell me that life was like a box of chocolate because you never know what you're going to get until you open it. And once in a great while, I find myself opening that box and finding something quite extraordinary. And that's really, you know, finding someone like Laurie who has stepped up to the plate whenever she's been asked and often volunteered on things that others were reluctant to take home. But she has a remarkable skill of being able to pull the bits and pieces together in a way that makes sense, in a way that resonates with people so that they can better understand about the salmon and the salmon people and what they all mean to the Pacific Northwest. Laurie, I kind of scratched my head for a while trying to figure out what to give you to commemorate this event. I thought of a wooden plaque, and then I decided, no, that's not going to work too well. You know, she doesn't need another piece of wood on the wall. So instead, I decided to give you another plaque, one made out of chocolate, that you might be able to enjoy and remember us by. So thank you, Laurie, for all your contributions and your efforts on behalf of the COVID Tech Committee and the Pacific Salmon Commission.
Well, since you all came here tonight, I thought I could say a little bit as well about really my thoughts on the Salmon Commission, where they've been going, where they will go. But to start off, I want to say that I am incredibly honored and also humbled for receiving this award. I'm honored, and then I look around the room, and there are so many of you that I think are equally deserving of this award. And as John mentioned, I'm humbled in the sense of who Larry was and all the people that have won it in the past. These are really the heavy hitters of the PSC world. And I really appreciate this vote of confidence that I am in that league, because I certainly don't feel myself there. A lot of what I've been doing for the last decade or two at the Salmon Commission has been talking about environmental change. If you paid any attention, you know that our poor little planet is really changing rapidly. Every year we have the hottest this, new record of that. And most of these changes are not good for salmon. Salmon are a cold water species. They need cold streams, cold productive oceans, and our planet is getting warmer. And these changes are also preventing us from understanding what is going on with salmon throughout their life cycle, because less and less does the past allow us to understand the future. And it's only going to get worse. I want to applaud the PSC's efforts to really get ahead of this unprecedented change, recognizing that environmental variation affects salmon productivity and survival, and increasing the knowledge base of the Salmon Commission family by doing things like seminars on a wide range of topics of how changes that are going around us are affecting salmon, documenting how the Salmon Commission uses environmental data to do its job, and hopefully how we can do a better job moving forward. And then hosting workshops like the one this Friday, where we can learn new tools on how to incorporate this environmental information into what we do with salmon. But I don't think we should be complacent. There is so much more we need to do. For one thing is designing nimble fisheries so that we can react when Mother Nature throws us that salmon curveball. We can respond in an appropriate way. We can also double down on the things that we can control, particularly restoring diverse and productive freshwater habitats so that salmon throughout our area, every single salmon that goes to the ocean, is the healthiest and the most diverse that it can be, because we do not know what a successful salmon in the future is going to look like. And we can't rely on the past to get us there. And there's a lot of other things that I think we can do. We have control over, and we should be doing at the Salmon Commission. I haven't heard a lot about beavers, but they make wonderful salmon habitat. My very first salmon project was in 1988. I spent a summer working on the beaver ponds in the Copper River Delta in Alaska. Some of these beaver dams were probably over 100 years old, and there were coho everywhere. It was truly amazing experience. So there's a lot that we can do and should do to help salmon. And then finally, in the vein of what John was talking about, I have been truly honored to be a member of the PSC family for the last 25 years. I don't think I know a more dedicated and passionate group of people who are working towards this common goal of sustainable salmon now and into the future. Like extended families everywhere, we don't always agree. We don't always have the same opinions about how we're going to get there. But it has been impressive to see how people work together. And we all come from very, very diverse backgrounds as well. Some Salmon Commission members, their lives, their culture have been intertwined with salmon for millennia. There's other people, such as myself, where it's just a a generation or two that we have grown this relationship with salmon. At the same time, we all work together for this amazing goal so that our grandchildren can have salmon, or 10 generations out, there will still be salmon across our landscape. Winning this award is a huge honor. I'm proud to have been a member of the Salmon Commission family. At the same time, I realize we are in challenging times. We need innovation, creative solutions, thinking outside the box. This is not going to be easy, but I'm confident that the Salmon Commission will find a path forward. And then I'm glad that I have been able to provide that little bit of the process to help us get there. And I especially appreciate and honored that I have been recognized for this contribution that I have been able to make. And above all, I thank you all for coming here tonight to help me celebrate this amazing award. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie, and that brings us to the end of our program for tonight. Thank you so much for showing up here tonight, showing your support for Laurie, showing your support for the commission family. Look forward to seeing the rest of you for the rest of the week here in Vancouver, and have a great evening. Thank you.